Hello and welcome back to The Flip Side. I am your host, Carla, and today we have a very exciting episode, but I just want to do a quick life update first. So it's been about 3 weeks, I guess, since a podcast episode, almost 3 weeks. I have been to the Netherlands. I've competed for Australia for my second time. Woohoo! So exciting and loved every second of it. Had a little bit of a disappointment after realizing that one of my stepping deductions when I landed meant that I could have made the finals. Overall, had a fantastic experience, did the passes that I wanted to do, made technical improvements that I wanted to make. If you have no idea what I'm talking about and it's your first time listening, I am a trampoline gymnast and I have been working my entire life to be able to compete on the Australian team. And now I've done it for a second time, once at 27 and now once at 28. So that was a big goal ticked off the list for me. And to be able to do it again and land two of my routines again, I'm so beyond grateful for that opportunity and how fun it is to just go to another country, hang out with the team, do flips, and it's just a good time. So that's where I've been, and that's why I haven't been able to release an episode. But also when I got back, I was deathly ill. Like, I've never probably been that sick since I was a child. So that was pretty rough there for a minute, and I didn't really have a voice, or I couldn't speak for more than a second without coughing, and I thought that might be irritating on a podcast. So we're here back again with this episode, which I'm really looking forward to telling you guys about. I did a solo episode a little while ago, and that one I said, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit more about what this course is that I did and the ideas that this guy told us. So this is Dr. John D. Martini, and there is an idea that I really just can't wait to share. I need people to know it because I think it completely changed the way that I look at life and my relationships and myself, and just, wow, what a breakthrough experience is actually what it's called. And it absolutely was. So let me preface this a little bit. There's going to be a couple of parts that we go through. There are a couple of key terms that you'll need to know. One, you'll definitely need to be familiar with what the authentic self is. So when I talk about the authentic self, I'm going to be talking about the highest expression of who you are, you being your absolute best self, the best qualities about you radiating, the qualities that you don't love so much, you've been able to integrate them into yourself, accept them, and move forwards and just be grateful for who you are. The authentic self is able to give to the world in a way that the conditioned and encumbered, let's call it, inauthentic self isn't able to do. So with that term, we'll move on, the authentic self. Then we've also got the opposite of that, just mentioned, the inauthentic self. And that is the you that's clouded by a lot of emotions, a lot of judgment, and your past experiences, and the emotions specifically that are tied to those past experiences. Now, there'll be 4 main emotions that we'll be checking in with, and 2 of them are maximizing, which means you're inflating yourself or others, and 2 of them are minimizing, which means you're deflating or belittling yourself or others. Okay, so these 4 emotions that we'll be using are resentment, so that's a minimizing emotion. If you feel resentment towards someone, you feel like you are better than them for whatever reason it is, and so you resent the actions or the things that they do. Then in that same minimizing category, we have not minimizing of others, which would be resentment, but minimizing of self, which would be shame and guilt. So they're the 2 minimizing ones, where shame and guilt is where you feel like you have done something that goes against your own morals or the morals of others, okay? Then we move on to the maximizing emotions. So we've got infatuation with others. We think, wow, they're so amazing. They're just doing everything perfectly. It's just awesome. So that's the maximizing of others, the inflation of others, that infatuation. We just think they can do no wrong. Then we have the inflation of self, which would be pride. And pride is that I can do no wrong. You know, you have that sense of, oh, I'm right in this situation and there's no other way about it. That kind of energy. So those 4 emotions, we have the 2 that sit up high, which is infatuation and pride. They're maximizing. And then we have the 2 that sit down low, shame and resentment. And so with this, we're going to build a model of how to get closer to your authentic self. Now, again, complete disclaimer, this is not my work. This is the work of Dr. John Martini. Please look him up. His podcast episodes with other hosts are insane. And also he has documentaries and he has a book where you can go through this breakthrough experience and also courses that you can do. So let's get into it. Now that we've got the key terms down, I'm going to show you how collapsing these emotions, so making them feel neutral rather than overly positive on the maximizing side or overly negative on the minimizing side. By collapsing them to feel neutral, you can become closer to your authentic self and live in so much more gratitude and so much more love. So I'll start with what he actually got us to do. Now, I'm going to take you through a process. There's a few steps along the way. So there's about 5 or 6 steps, but I'm going to skim through them so that you get the idea and you can go away and apply it rather than flooding you with the theory of it. So where he got us to start was to choose a person that we really were feeling a lot of resentment towards. And that was really tricky because he said often it will be someone close to you or someone that has left your life. So someone that I resent the most, I thought, okay, who am I going to put here? Like, I'm sure there's someone that I really am feeling annoyed at. And then I realized, okay, this is not nice, but the person that I feel the most resentment towards right now is my dad. He's going to love it when he hears this. It ends well, okay? It ends well, guys. And so I was having these really, really strong emotions of resentment about specifically when he asked me questions. He'd be like, hey, how you doing today? And then would walk in the other direction while I was giving the answer and not really listen. And so that would just frustrate the hell out of me. It would infuriate me. Honestly, like I would be so angry. Or he would ask me a question and I would give him a bunch of logical answers and then he would just continue to ask me the same question, which made me feel like, again, he wasn't listening or didn't value my answer. So we had to think of actual specific memories, specific times, very, very, very clear memories of when we felt that resentment towards this person and what the action was specifically that made you feel the resentment. So I went to this memory and I go, okay, yep, definitely can feel that resentment there. That is so infuriating. And what he got us to do next was the part that absolutely rocked my world in a way that I never could have imagined I would be shaken. So he got us to list all of the benefits of this person doing that action that you resent. What are the benefits of this action? And it wasn't just like, so I don't do the same thing. It couldn't be anything about the opposite, right? I hope that makes sense. It can't be like, oh, then I won't ignore people because I know how it feels. It can't be the opposite. It's got to be truly what are the benefits of this action. And so what I had to do was really, really dig deep here because when there's something that you resent, you cannot see how this could possibly be a positive thing. And so they make you sit there and they make you list thing after thing after thing after thing until you get a tear of gratitude. And he wouldn't let you, the guy running the course, Dr. Martini, would not let you move on to the next stage until you got that tear of gratitude because then he knew it was truly neutral. And he's done a little bit of research into this and he found that the gamma waves in the brain, they line up when you feel a sense of gratitude. And it's almost impossible to not get that feeling like you're tearing up or actually get a tear in your eye when you make it to complete gratitude. So I thought that was super interesting as well. So had to go down the list and list all these things. Okay, it may be more articulate. And then you can not go for the direct ones like it would make me more articulate, but indirect. Okay, it made me closer with my brother because we got to talk about these situations. And so you had to go down and down and down and down and down the list until, get this, You were thankful. You were grateful for the person that you resent doing that action. That was transformative. That was truly transformative. And so you get to that point where you're grateful for that action. You can see that it's neutral, because then they get you, get this, they get you to list the times that you have done this same action. So then I had to go and look in the mirror and say, oh, wow, okay, when Sean, my partner, talks about things that are a little bit overwhelming for me, or it's a lot of information, or I've had a long day, or whatever the excuse is that I want to give myself, right? I can check out a little bit and I can not listen, and I can do the same thing, blank responses, whatever those same actions are that I was really resenting in my dad, I could see that I was doing the same thing. And so what he actually got you to do then was see that you did it to the same degree. So you had to write 20 or more memories of times where you have done that same action. And he would not let you stop until you found them. And let me tell you, you think you wouldn't be able to find them because you almost have this pride about it, right? Because you're at the other end of the spectrum. You have that pride about yourself. I would never do that. And the resentment towards the other person, like, I could never be like that, right? And so as you go through, you go, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, each time that you find a memory that you've done it. And you will find enough if you look for them. We got stuck for hours and hours, and we would sit there and have a coach take us through until we could come up with more answers. So then you get to the point where you can see all these times you've done it, and you can see that you have done this action to the same degree. And I tried to argue it at the time. I said, what if you can see that they still do it more? And then he goes, then you're not finished the list. And so I had to continue down this list until I could see that I had done this action to the same degree as my dad. So I got to the end of that list, and then what does he make you do? This is the most twisted part, in my opinion. He makes you list the benefits to the person that you've done it to in each memory. What are the benefits to them of you doing that action that you resent, right? And so you start building these lists of the benefits to them, and you almost feel like gross trying to say that it's a good thing that you've done this action that you resent. But you end up getting to a point where, because you've listed all these benefits and you thought it was so bad, so your initial mindset is this is super negative, this is a very negative action, and then having to list the benefits gets you to a point where it's neutral. So that's what I'm talking about when I say the benefits. Like, you're doing that so that you actually neutralize it, like a positive and negative equals no charge. That's what you're trying to get to, rather than overly think that this is a super great thing that I did that to this person, or this is a super negative thing. It's actually just a thing that provided equal positives and equal drawbacks to that person. And I can move on knowing that that's neutral and feeling gratitude for that person and their actions, and me and my actions. So we also had to do this on the flip side, guys. On the flip side, for people that we infatuated with, we thought they were amazing, they were our idols, or they were role models. We had to do a similar thing but flipped the opposite way. So we had to go, okay, what are all the drawbacks of this action that I admire so much in these people? And doing that was just crazy. He got us to do it with, people that we admire, actions that we felt pride about. So everything became neutral. And when you can be neutral about things and you can see that they were of equal benefit and drawback to you, then you can live more authentically. So the whole idea is, the more you can find gratitude in any emotion that you felt in the past. So this is always retrospective, just as a side note. Always retrospective, which means that these will all be stored emotions. I have already decided this is how I feel about this situation. I feel resentment, I feel shame, I feel guilt, I feel whatever it is. I feel pride, I feel infatuation. Whatever I feel with this, that has happened in the past, and I have already felt that and tied that emotion to this action or this person. Now I can neutralize it. So this isn't a future thing where you can go into the world and say, I'm going to do a really terrible thing and it's just going to be neutral. That's not really how it works. This is always retrospective in order to feel gratitude for your situation and where you're at, and gratitude for the people around you and where they're at. and a lot more acceptance and understanding towards others. So through this process of working on the relationship with my dad, which, can I just say now, it really wasn't all that bad, but there was that tension there of me holding this resentment. And so after working on all of that, there was a few more steps in between, and I'll just give you some examples. One of them was, okay, if this person had done everything you've wanted them to do, what are the negatives of that? What are the drawbacks of that? And then you can see if they'd done the perfect thing that you would have asked them to do, half the skills that you've gained because they are the way they are, you wouldn't have. And so it was so interesting to look into that and see that everything is perfect. Everything is perfect up until the point that you're at. And if you can live in more love and more gratitude and more acceptance, then it's so much easier to move through the world without that judgment of others or judgment of self. So after those steps, then they look around the room, the coach that you're with. So sometimes you had an individual coach come around if you were getting a little bit stuck, or at the end of the process, they all came up and they said, okay, look around this room. Who reminds you most of your dad? And so I had to go, oh, okay, I'm not sure. Oh, okay, it's this guy. And so this random guy, this is such a strange experience. So this random guy, I was like, okay, this is the guy. And then they got us to go and sit down, and they would ask you if you could wave a magic wand and change anything about this person, and it was the person sitting in front of me who I thought reminded me most of my dad, would you change anything? And if you even hesitated, if you looked sideways, whatever it was, if you didn't just say no and really mean it completely with your whole heart, they would make you go sit back down and keep doing the process. And so I was at the point and I said, yeah, no, there is, I didn't say yes. I said no. I said, no, there's nothing I would change. And so then we could start the process, and they said, what would you like to say to your dad? And then I got to say everything that I wanted to say, and not in a way where I was like, well, you did this and you did this and you did this. No, because I was already moved from that whole process before towards this place of gratitude and towards this place of acceptance and love and just complete peace with where we were at, where I was at, where he was at, and where we were at together as a dad-daughter relationship. So then I said all the things, thank you for this, thank you for that, I'm sorry that I've been a bit tough, sorry that I've been judgmental, all of the things that I had projected because I was feeling that resentment and thought that I was above him in some way. And now I had all of the evidence written down that I'm not above him, nor am I above anyone. And we all feel these emotions. It's so normal. And to put yourself above or put yourself below people sometimes. So it's not something you want to judge yourself about or feel really terrible about. But it's something to reflect on and come back to and think, okay, why am I feeling that? What am I really hiding from in myself? That is a quality that I have and I have shown to the same degree in some other area of my life. So that was a very cathartic experience. They got us to then write a letter to our person after we had done that sit-down talk with the person that reminded us most of them. And once I'd written that letter, they said, you can decide to whatever you want to do with it. And I decided to call my dad and read it to him. And it was really, really, I'm going to get a bit teary just talking about it. It was very healing for us, because a lot of this hurt and resentment came out of the fact that him and my mum separated when I was much older, so a couple of years ago now. And I think the emotions were built up into those small actions, but really it was a much bigger thing. And when I could see those actions as perfect and making me who I am and allowing me to be the person that I am, there was no more resentment. There was only gratitude. That was a super healing experience for both of us. It was very special, and the process itself taught me so much. Something that I really love about Dr. Martini is that he works off universal laws. He's what's called a polymath. So a polymath is someone that's basically read to the end of multiple subjects that are documented by humans. So that might be sciences, it might be chemistry, physics, biology, whatever it is. Also might be philosophy, also might be history, religion. So he has gone to the end of the available information of these topics, and he has integrated it all into the way that he runs this course. And one of the other parts, just as a side note, that I thought was super amazing was he talked about Newton's laws and how they can also apply to humans and human interactions and how the world works and the universe. And it can sound a bit woo-woo, but I really just loved the concept and the way of thinking about it. So during the process, he got us to close our eyes and balance the scale. And what I mean by this is Newton's law is every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So he asked for, in that moment, who was doing the equal and opposite action to you. And he got us to close our eyes and put ourselves exactly in that moment as clear as you could make your memory of when my dad was doing something that I resented, right? You really sit in that memory and you go, who is doing the equal and opposite action? And if the answer doesn't come to you in a second, then you're thinking about it. So he wants it to be really intuitive. And so, so I'm sitting there and I couldn't do it. I was like thinking about it. I was getting in my head, and then went to lunch, had a bit of time, came back and just sat there, and I was like, I'm not going to get to the end of this. So the end of that day, I actually didn't complete, and then came back the next morning and spoke to this coach that was just so lovely. I really resonated with her, and I hadn't spoken to her yet. And she helped me finish out a lot of the pieces. And then she goes, okay, so close your eyes. Let's do this part of the process. Who was doing the equal and opposite action? And it has to be of the same weighting in emotion as well. So the amount of resentment I was feeling, I had to feel the same weight in emotion as that resentment. And so she asked me that question, and she goes, in that moment that your dad was not listening to you, who was listening to you? And immediately it came to me. I didn't even have to think about it that time. It was a Thursday. I had released my podcast and I started crying. Like, it was a Thursday when I was talking to my dad. And so I just thought that was insane that your brain could just bang. And whether it was a thought about response or not, it was equal enough in weight for it to really balance that action and see that the universe is just perfect, equal and opposites. And I really liked that way of thinking about it. So if you really get caught up in things that are happening with you and you think everything's against you, find that equal and opposite action. And it's just such a beautiful moment. It's just such a beautiful moment. It really allows you to feel a lot more free from your circumstances, because there will always be the equal and opposite. Everything is some energy, zero. And that's the other thing that he taught us. Astronomers, physicists, that realm of science have figured out that if they tallied up all the energy in the universe, the net energy equals zero. So everything is neutral, which I think is really cool. If you want to know a little bit more about this, I actually am going to do a little clip and I'm going to leave it on the podcast. On Spotify, you can find the little clips that are attached to each podcast. I'm going to draw a diagram that helps you to understand this collapsing the emotions and moving closer to the authentic self and where those emotions sit. This is also a really great tool to do on people that you really, really admire, and you can see that you have these same traits and you have them to the same degree. I would love for you to follow the show. I have actually really cool news, very exciting news. I am launching a website which will have all my resources in one place. There's going to be so many things on there. I actually can't wait. There will be visualizations and meditations, an ebook talking about mental blocks. There'll be resources like blog posts, which I've written on different things sport-wise, different things mental health-wise. I can't wait to release it. And there'll be a shop there also with products that I always tell my patients to go and buy. And so if there's anything to do with health, physical or mental, it's going to be on there. So I'll leave you with that for today. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. I think this is just groundbreaking. So I hope that you think the same thing. Please share this with anyone who you think needs it. I think this is worthwhile sharing. That's why I'm sharing it with you. Thank you again. I will catch you on the flip side. Bye, guys.